Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a donation deck list from That Maverick Joe, wanting to explore Death Shadow in Legacy, and more specifically within Legacy Maverick. This list is pretty budget friendly as well. Joe was looking for a list that a modern player could take and assemble for a Legacy tournament, and vice versa. So we have no reserve list cards, and still a pretty sweet list to play around with. This deck does have the body of a Maverick shell, with, of course, the card Death Shadow. Death Shadow plays really well with fetches and shocks. It plays really well with Snuff Out, and those cards, although haven't seen too much play in Maverick, definitely can. We have 6 shocks in total and 4 Snuff Outs. We're not playing anything like Street Wraith or, of course, Force of Will to also lose life, but I have played around with this a little bit pre-show, and you can get Death Shadow online pretty quickly, which is really nice to see. In this list, it's also a card that we can of course search up with Fiend Artisan, turning a ignobled or noble hierarch into a Death Shadow in the mid to late game is really nice. And then also we can find it with Ranger, Captain of Eos, which is really cool. Ranger is a card that has seen a lot of modern play, especially in the previous versions of sort of Devoted Druid decks and also some Mardu Death Shadow decks, I believe. But really nice in this version, not just as a tutor, but also as a way to buy some time against combo, especially with the Sacrifice effect. Your opponents can't cast on creature spells this turn. That can really put your opponent off if they're trying to go off and trying to tutor for their win con in the same turn. So imagine if your opponent tries to go off, casts Infernal Tutor with mana floating, and you sacrifice this guy. Well, there's not too much they can do. So Ranger, of course, is really nice there. This version also isn't playing Green Sun Zenith. So instead of Green Sun Zenith, we're really looking to find Fiend Artisan as a way to tutor for the creatures we want. We do have Ranger, of course, and then Merrin as well, which I believe is a commander card, which has seen some play in Nickfit before, and it's a pretty good body. It's a 3/4 body for 4, with whenever another creature you control dies, you get an experience counter, and then at the beginning of your end step, choose target creature card in your graveyard. If that card's mana value is less than or equal to the number of experience counters you have, return it to the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand, which is pretty sweet. So you could straight away potentially get back a Death Shadow at 1 counter, or of course get something back like an Endurance to your hand, which is pretty nice. We do have some protection in this deck in Sylvan's Safekeeper, which is really nice and pretty important with Death Shadow. Also a small thing here, a little bit like how you can Daze back Watery Grave and get an extra 2 damage via shock. You can do some pretty cool things with Safekeeper and Ramanap by sacrificing shocklands already in play and then playing them from a graveyard, paying an additional 2 life to start really pumping up your Death Shadows. And then for removal, we have, of course, the Force Snuff Out. Really well positioned right now with Blue Red Delver and Mono White Initiative online. It allows us to remove opposing threats or mana acceleration while also building out our own board. So instead of taking our first turn to either Swords to Plowshares or go after sort of the board with mana acceleration, we can do both. We can remove creatures and also build out our board, which is pretty great. We also have 3 Grist. The increase here, because Grist is just a great card at getting that real grind going. Obviously the Germs have some upside with Fiend Artisan, and also just as a removal spell it's great because it does stick around as well, going down from 3 loyalty to 1 loyalty. We also aren't running Green Suns, of course, so extra copies mean we're going to see it a lot more. Brutal Cathar is a pretty interesting one. You might have seen Brutal Cathar in some lists of humans. Shout out to Eddie Zamora. But Brutal Cathar in this matchup, or at least in this list, is just another Fiend Artisan target that can take out things that might be in the way, like a Murktide Regent, or potentially a big seasoned Dungeoneer. Plague Agent here, just to round out sort of that ability to remove opposing threats, and even take over some boards against tribal decks like Elves, which is quite nice. Voice is in this deck as well. Voice is just a really nice way to either pressure blue decks and how much they can interact in your turn, and also is just nice with Fiend Artisan as a card that can be sacrificed, leaving a body, and then obviously turning it into something else with Fiend. Renegade Rallier kind of plays the same slot. I think Renegade and Merrin are probably cards I want to look at in regards to could it be just one of these instead, and could we fit in something like maybe a Dryad Arbor into this list. Dryad Arbor pretty nice because although we don't have Green Suns or Cradle, it is still a card we can grab off, say, Windswept Heath. And Dryad Arbor with Ramanap is also quite nice against some of the creature heavy decks of just having a blocker each turn. To the board, nice in stock, but a pretty cool plan. For a lot of the combo decks, we have Grief as a way to interact with opponents on turn 1, hopefully. And then we can actually get it back with Reanimate as well. So a pretty cool kind of side strategy. Really looking forward to see how that goes. We then have Gaddock Teeg for combo, Opposition Agent for combo, and some of the mid-range sort of Knight of the Reliquary decks. Endurance for additional removal for the graveyard. And then Assassin's Trophy is just a nice way to have an answer for everything. It's kind of like the Golgari Council's Judgment in a way. Obviously there are some restrictions on what you can hit, but I feel like Trophy as an instant seed spell is just really, really nice. Especially against Delver or Mono White, being able to hit any of their threats is really great. And also hitting things like Ensnaring Bridge or Chalice, etc. Yeah, a huge thank you to Joe for sending this through. One thing he did want to say was this is kind of the 75 that he wanted to go with. And then after the league, we'll talk about maybe how some things went. And if we want to change anything, we'll then go through a second league. And then hopefully after these 2 leagues, the 10 matches, we have a kind of a better idea of how we want to have the threat base, the mana, the removal, and then stream the last one. So really looking forward to that. I guess the last thing just to note on is obviously no Green Suns, no Knight of the Reliquary, no Thalias, no Birds, no Spirits, but with no Knights, we only have the 1 Wasteland in the meta base. This is really just a target for the Elvish Reclaimers, the Bojuka Bog as well, Elvish Reclaimer of course, Karakas and Canopy. Having both Canopy and Nurturing Peatland is pretty nice as just extra ways to slowly sort of move down your life total as you're trying to get Death Shadow online. So looking forward to seeing how that goes. But yeah, it's really cool to see just a different take on what players can bring to the table when it comes to Maverick. And I believe sort of the main inspiration for this was actually seeing Mengu play. And Joe really liked how Mengu was playing with Death Shadow around in Legacy and thought of it in Modern, and then thought about, how can players get better access to Legacy? Well, I think the cost barrier is a huge one. So being able to have a deck that hopefully is pretty competitive, that doesn't have that kind of reserve list barrier, for less of a better term, is really nice. So really looking forward to seeing how this goes. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you in round 1. Hey team, welcome back. We're on the play. And we have I don't mind this hand. We have access to 6 damage, 7 damage. With the Death Shadows, we have some early, obviously, plays with Ignoble Hierarchs, which means with the Mana Acceleration, we can probably play this Canopy turn 2. And actually just cycle it at the end of turn 2 to hopefully draw into a spell on turn 3. So pretty happy to keep this. Alright. Let's go for probably Overgrown Temple Garden here. Not too sure what we're up against. Ancient Tomb. Okay, this is probably an initiative deck with Ancient Tomb into Lotus Petal. Alright. So Snuff Out here would be fantastic. I guess going Overgrown Tomb into Canopy allows us to potentially draw into an extra, get an extra draw step into Snuff Out. Opponent here potentially holding up Chalice for one? Walking Ballista. Okay. Not too bad, seeing that we have the backup Ignoble Hierarch here. Oh, we would have had it as well. Tough. I probably want to snuff out this right now, because that also plays around touch, being able to save the White Plume. But now we're in a pretty nice position. We get a turn 2 Death Shadow. We have 2 creatures that can attack. Next turn we probably get an extra draw as well with this Canopy, so looking pretty good so far. I would think that Mono White's going to be a bit of a tough matchup, seeing they have cards like Source Plowshares and Solitude, which really keep us from keeping Death Shadow off the table, and even with them on the table, can lead to some pretty tough positions. Okay, another White Plume. And now they have 1 card left. Fiend. I think here I'm happy just to draw a card first. There is some thought of hopefully taking the initiative first, but I think here... Okay. I will attack first. I don't want to play the Fiend just in case they like swords the Fiend, and obviously that makes the Death Shadow smaller. And they have the touch. Tough. So next turn, we can potentially... I guess now they get the extra creature off the throne as well. But we are pretty close to getting Grist online. Let's have a quick look at our deck. We do have some options here. We could go for Plague Engineer, which takes out the skeleton token and then has a nice blocker. I think that's probably our best shot. because Plague allows us to deal with the skeleton and then have either a block of one of these. Grist allows us to tick up, which isn't great. Ranger gives us a card in hand, which isn't great. I think it is just Plague naming skeleton. I believe they don't know about the top card. A land off the top also means potentially next turn we could trade away the Ignobled Hierarch. But it's tough to be able to get Grist online and not get rid of Fiend Artisan as the card. But a lot of good top decks from them. Removal, Seasoned Dungeoneer. Actually, looking at the board, I'm not too sure what I want. A lot of their things are exile, so I don't think like Reanimate is a great choice. I don't mind Agent as just a flash threat. I also don't mind the Assassin's Trophies as removal. Grief probably isn't where I want to be. Hellish Norn. The permanent enters the battlefield, causes the trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger. Triggers an additional time. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause... Okay, that's fine. We actually have that covered by the Caracas, which is nice. Wow, no attacks. I didn't expect that. Okay. Start with returning this. Probably attacking with the Plague here. And then going for Ignobled Hierarch and Death Shadow. Which is a 7/7. And we know the card in hand is covered by Caracas, which is nice, so... Slowly trying to make a way there. One thing I should know is... No, so the creature that dies to Fiend Artisan isn't seen by Merrin. I just wanted to double check that. That's pretty good. Oh, Grist. Okay. I'm not too sure how Brutal Cathar works with... I think if I Brutal Cathar, it comes in as Moonrage and doesn't actually come down as Brutal Cathar, which is tough. I think I start with attacks by Death Shadow. And seeing how they block, seeing that we have Exalted. That's fine. Oh, it's indestructible? Apologies, I didn't see that. Oh, okay. I guess like reanimate on their solitude would be cool, but I don't think that's where we want to be. Alright. They still cast it. Interesting. Hmm. Definitely tick this up. Endurance. Play Wasteland. I guess we attack with Death Shadow, see how they block, and then we can insect away for another Grist. I wish I knew how Brutal Cathar worked here. Because I believe if a player casts no spells during their turn, which is this, it becomes night next turn. I think, like, if we Grist here, we obviously get rid of the Angel. We then have Death Shadow left. They have two cards in hand. One is Elishnorn. I think in this position I just go for Grist and then in between games just figure out what actually happens here. Yeah, sadly. Maple... No. Let's have a quick look. Brutal Cathar. Ability creates 2 one-shot effects. There's a lot here. There's a lot here to actually try to get there. If it's neither day nor night and a creature with day bound and a creature with night bound somehow appears in battlefield, no. I think we just go for second Grist here. We keep this one. Now the question is, what do I keep? I think I actually just keep Fiend. It's still a 2-turn clock, if relevant. And it also turns, like, germs into other things, so I think I do just go for Death Shadow here. And I know they get a menace creature. Okay. Swords is fine. Let's tick up. Let's play this fiend. I'll play this. Probably not. Don't really want to wasteland them here either. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Going down to 6 mana isn't that different, I think. Another Solitude's very good. Yeah, these free cards off the initiative have just been so good. Jeez. Definitely comes down to my understanding of Brutal Cathar as well. But I feel like we've done it before on stream and it came in flipped and didn't actually get to exile anything. What don't I want? Probably the voices. The voices are kind of interesting. The bog can definitely come out. I do like the trophies, and I don't mind the agent. Reanimate's interesting, but probably just not where I want to be. I think Liberate is better than Oof. I don't think we actually need the Oof. I don't think like going after their mana in that way is great, especially when we only have one Wasteland. Safekeeper seems fine. Reclaimer seems fine. The Rangers are nice because they just replace themselves. I could see myself going down on the Endurance as a flash creature and just having the opposition agent instead. Even just going down on like one voice I think is fine. It's kind of trimming a little bit. I think you could actually get away with Turak in this list, especially with the black sources and the access to ignoble hierarchs. You could kick it quite quickly as well, which would be a nice kind of silver bullet for the mono-white matchup. Alright, let's play first. We have a turn 2 voice. I don't think that's strong enough. We also don't have a great way to control the board. Okay. This is a little better. I don't mind keeping this and bottoming the Death Shadow. And I probably just want to go for Overgrown Tomb here off the... I could also play a Horizon Canopy here into Ignoble Hierarch. That allows me to potentially see if I need to go for a second white source for Captain next turn. Or just get Voice down. I probably do want to get an Overgrown Tomb at some point because of Snuff Out as well. But I guess Godless Shrine also gets us there. But yeah, sadly the White Initiative deck is just so fast. Okay. That comes in tapped, and then I will play Voice here. Wasteline's pretty strong, actually. Hmm. I don't mind starting with attacks and seeing how they want to trade. Oh wow, they don't. Okay. Probably just want the swamp here. Let me have a think. Could also go for plains, which allows me to cast Ranger this turn. I actually don't mind going for Dash Shadow here. But then we get blown out by having like 2 and just like against like no swords, no solitude just yet. Could also get Reclaimers. Or just keep going on mana. It's actually a tough one. The extra Exalted could be quite good. They will Forge next turn, so I think actually the extra Exalted is better. Okay, I will just search and response. We will go for Overgrown Tomb. We still get to pay to life, which is kind of nice, but it does come in tapped. Yeah, I think if anything, this sort of matchup shows that I do want Swords to Plowshares in the 75 at some point. Okay. Interesting. I think here we want to play an Exalted Creature and Grist. Oh, we can't because of Archon. I really want to get rid of Elish here. It's tough because Reclaimer gets Caracas, but over 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turns, which is just too slow. We're definitely playing a land for turn. My only thought is, do we draw first to try to draw into either Snuff Out or Caracas, potentially? That changes things quite massively. I don't mind drawing a card here, because even if we whiff, we still get to play Grist and trade away the Voice for the Elishnorn and get a token. And the upside of drawing into something like a Snuff Out is pretty huge. Just want to read this again. Triggers twice for them. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities or permanents to trigger for your opponent. Okay, that's fine. Has to be Snuff Out, actually. It has to be Snuff Out. Rallier. No white mana. Okay. Oh, this comes in tapped, though. Ooh, that's a big one. I didn't even think of that, and I definitely should have. Yeah, tough. That could just be the game. I think now we just go for Noble, because it allows us to have more mana next turn. There's no great attacks here either, so that's pretty tough. Yeah, just little things. Like, obviously I know about the Archon, like we've talked about it, but just there I didn't take it into consideration, which I think Tunnel Vision is definitely something that I can learn about a bit more. Well, not learn about, but just build on and like get better at. Nice. I think that's just going to be GG. That's a lot of value. There's not much I can do here. Because they get to attack for yeah, they just get to attack for everything. Nice. Tough. Definitely shows the power of mono white, but yeah, a few little things I could have done better there, but hopefully we can, yeah, just get some of those little things out. I'll also find out about Brutal Cathar as well and see how that goes. So we'll see you in match 2. Hey team, just wanted to come back to something about Brutal Cathar. In that matchup, I didn't search for it because I wasn't too sure what would happen if I didn't cast any spells and Fiend Artisan for it in my turn. And I actually found the old match that it happened to me with, where it came in as Moonrage Brute off Aether Vial instead of coming in as Brutal Cathar. And that was because I had already had Day-Night on the field, and it was night at the time, and that's the reason why. So pretty tough. I don't think the game would have changed in any way, but it would have definitely given me a better chance having that extra creature. But it's life, we live, and we'll move on. Thanks. Hey team, welcome back to match 2. We do have a 4-lander with 2 3-drops and 1 Death Shadow. I think with cards like Manadorks and Removal in Snuff Out, we have a better opener. This is just a little bit too slow for my liking. A lot better. I think here I'm happy to keep this and put back the Death Shadow and then find it with Ranger. Very cool that Ranger can also find Sylvan's Safekeeper. Big fan of that. Oh, is this going to be the Death Shadow Mirror? Okay. Who has the edge here? This is actually an interesting one. I think we, other than counter magic, having access to, I guess Snuff Out's pretty dead on Death Shadow, which is tough. We also are in white, but don't have access to Swords to Plowshares, which is a big one. Here we'll go with, I think I'm going to run into a daze with Ignoble Hierarch, because I don't want to lose my second white source here for Ranger. We also have Grist. Grist is a pretty great removal spell in this matchup. Okay. Thankfully, this hand is quite redundant against Thoughtseize because Meren gets back everything. We have 2 Manadorks as well, so looking pretty strong. I think they take Meren here. They take the Ranger. Okay. Oh, and they miss a land drop. That's pretty huge. Oh, that's actually really nice. I think I still just want to double spell here. Now we can go for Temple Garden. Next time we get to Merrin. Or maybe even Renegade if we want. This Shockland is access to Death Shadow. Okay. Or potentially Gurmag? Oh, him to Tarak. Okay, that's pretty strong. Not a great removal spell, but it does deal with Murktide Regent, which is strong. Not what I want to see. Okay. Can we race? That's the question. We do have a 2-turn clock with Exalted with Outland Liberator here. They go after the white source. Interesting. Leaving us with the ability to actually snuff out our opponent. We're not going to block here either. They haven't cast a spell, so Outland Liberator might flip here. Oh, they haven't. Beautiful. Alright. Apologies. Always. Always. Alright, they go to 3. Which makes this lethal even if we block with the nobles. So they need another threat. We have a lot of good draws here, including Grist being the best. Verdant. Is there a reason to keep these cards in hand? I think the only reason is if we cast a card that we don't want to lose to him to Tarak, we can keep these lands in hand. We don't have Dried Arbor to grab. But it does allow us to play the Snuff out potentially around days without paying for it, which I don't mind. That him was really good, hitting both Merrin and Renegade Rallier. Alright, I think here we're just going to thin a little bit. Get that Godless Shrine as well. No real need to take the damage at this point. I'm going to hold this as an unknown. I think 5 mana is more than enough to work around with. Also, being at 3 life does turn off their own snuff outs unless they can hardcast. Oh, they go down to 1. A nice little spot here where Dried Apple would be really nice is just another lethal threat. Brainstorm's definitely scary here. But yeah, I think it's worth noting about Dryad here. Oh, just a pass from them. Right, Grist, we need you. That is another threat. They can't force it, which is nice being at 1 life. They also can't fetch. So the Brainstorm is actually a lock. They also can't Street Wraith. Alright. So they drew a card, now they get to see, I believe, 2 deeper. Another Shadow is very good. 5 cards left for my opponent. They can't attack because we have 2 creatures with power. This standoff is actually pretty hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a play. That's also just a 3rd threat. So now they need to find either removal or a way to get in. And funnily enough, even if we attack with all 3, they have removal for 1 piece and block the other 2. We then can still block with 2 creatures here. Oh, thankfully, this isn't an out either because attacking with Frenzied Trapbreaker kills the Strix before blocks. Wow, they get in. That's aggressive. Pretty happy just to block here with 1 Ignobled. And now they only have 1 blocker. Maybe they don't see that Trapbreaker. What's this going to be? Gurmag? Even Gurmag doesn't do it because then we still get through that attack. I just don't understand. Ah, because this flips. Okay. Now I get it. I wonder if there I should have actually played the Verdant, as it allows the Death Shadow to be bigger than the Gurmag. That could come back to fight us. To bite us, sorry. Pretty cool game so far. It's definitely not worth attacking here, but next turn, potentially. I'm just going to fetch again here. Get that overgrown tune out. Which still makes the Death Shadow bigger than the Gomag. Canopy is a draw here. Ooh, Plague. Does Plague do it? Let's see. We can name Strix and then attack him with everything if we really wanted to. But I think I'd rather just give them... I guess we'll see. Wow. Wow. That is worthy of a little... That was a game for sure. Alright, board. The reanimates are actually interesting because of Street Wraith. The snuff outs are pretty dead. I don't mind changing them over for trophies. The endurances are nice as well. I think that's going to be it. Fiend is not... sorry, Plague's just nice of getting rid of Strixes as well, and also just being a Death Touch creature. The Oof is out. The Liberator can as well hit, so I don't mind having, like, taking out the Grief. The Shadows are still strong. The Safety Keep is strong. Ramanap's strong, like with the Wasteland especially. Being able to find it through Reclaimer. Voice is obviously quite good. I could see going down on mana accelerants. Maybe like a 2-2 split. Or maybe even a 2-1 split. Yeah, like this. Bulk's still good. Caracas, I think just as a land drop is fine. Maybe Liberator isn't where I want to be. Brutal Cathar. Marin Trophy. Maybe just the 3 endurance is fine. Alright. We have a 1-lander with a forest. We are going to mulligan this hand. Better. Happy to keep this. Probably getting rid of the Death Shadow here. It's a little bit dead in this opening hand. We can find it later on with Fiend Artisan. I think no matter what, I'm happy to lead on a Ignoble Hierarch. I don't really want to throw the Reanimate into a Daze if they do Street Wraith straight away. I think here they might have to take the Reanimate, but we'll see. It's obviously between these two. They take the Reanimate. No Daze. Interesting. I think a Mana Dork is a great card to Daze because for every Mana Dork that I have, the more I can play around future Dazes. Is this a land into Ponder? No, it's going to be a Strix. Oh, voice, but no white mana. A little bit tough, but that is fine. I'd rather get down the Artisan here. A white source of the top here as well would be fantastic. Being able to voice and then maybe even just turn it into another voice would be kind of cool. Get that big token going. Wow, they're gonna force voice. Okay. I wonder if they're just trying to build up the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't really want to put Strix into the bin unless we can Bog in the same turn. They thought seize me, but they know about the Bog, I believe, from the opening hand. So just trying to fill that bin potentially, which is great for us, honestly. All right. Now it's an interesting one because they're currently at 13. If I put them to 11, they can play a Death Shadow. So I think here I'm actually happy just playing Bog, targeting them and passing. I don't want to enable Death Shadow at this point where we don't have good removal or a way to keep it off the field in our creatures. Another Thoughtseize, wow. Just a land from us. But I assume this will be a Death Shadow. Okay. It's a good start. They have one card left. Play this, play around any sort of him effects, and then just pass back. Getting a Grist next turn with Fiend Artisan would be fantastic. I would lose it to the Strix, but I think that's okay. There is a world, though, where we attack with the Shadow, they attack with the Shadow, we attack with the Ignobled Hierarch, they block with Strix, and then post-combat we get to trade off the other Ignobled Hierarch for Death Shadow. Another Shadow's pretty good. Okay. I guess we could Ramanap. Ramanap into Voice. I think that's best. I could also Renegade Ranger, but I think Ralia into Voice is pretty strong. Could also go for another Fiend, but just getting this body of Voice against the Death Shadows is quite nice. Especially if they don't have another way to pump the Death Shadows, we can actually trade off. They do attack, okay. I guess here we make them have it. Make them have like a Street Wraith effect. Okay. Murktide, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Oh. Play Cathar. Take out Murktide. And then we get to go... get rid of Ignobled for a Plague Engineer. Name Bird. Now we have 2 great blockers, and we also get in for 4. That was a really nice turn. Now they have 2 cards in hand. So even if... yeah, really tough spot for them, because even if they get rid of the Plague Engineer, attack, block with Brutal Cathar, they get back the Murktide as a 3/3, but both of these are obviously lethal threats. Yeah, we have to draw a creature off the top. But still, pretty sweet. So I think there was a point there where Dryad Arbor in the deck would have been nice, but to be fair as well, we also fetched before they went to 1 to give us that opportunity. But again, probably another position where I'd love to have Source to Plowshares in the 75, especially against Death Shadow. It's obviously a fantastic card in this matchup. So yeah, something to take away. Swords, but hey, we're on the board, which is really nice. And John, a big thanks for the sub. Too kind. We'll see you in match 3. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. We're on the play here with a pretty interesting hand. We have a green sword with double Reclaimer. We don't have a black source for Death Shadow, Snuff Out, or Fiend Artisan, but we do have Reclaimer if it survives, and we do have 2 of them. We can turn potentially Wasteland into a fetch land into Overgrown Tomb. So I think just to try it out, I'm going to keep this, but it is definitely a risk to keep a hand like this without a black source. But I think because we have access through double Reclaimer, I'm happy to go with this. All right, up 100 also keeping. Reclaimer, a part of the deck we haven't really seen too much of recently, so pretty interested to see how this plays out. All right, this is actually quite nice because we get to go Wasteland. Sack this right now. Go and get Overgrown Tomb. We can still pay the 2. That's actually pretty interesting. Getting the Death Shadow online as soon as possible is pretty nice, so I will pay it. And then snuff this out. Alright, pretty nice turn. Next turn at worst. I guess at best we could double spell. At worst we can 1 spell. But against what looks to be Death and Taxes, again, a Solitude, and... Oh, they go for Jit, not Kaldra. That makes me think they definitely have Kaldra in hand. Another Snuff Out, wow. So I think in this matchup, my opponent is for sure going to go for Kaldra, and seeing they went for Jide gives me a huge amount of certainty that they do have Kaldra in hand. So I think here I'm happy to snuff this out. Play Reclaimer, play Death Shadow, and then attack for 1. And although we miss that land drop, that's another like 3 spells in a turn. So we went 1 spell, 1 spell, 3 spell. Okay. Okay. Thankfully here we do have Plague Engineer as well as just a really good out. So let's have a quick think. I think here I want to get the Fiend Artisan online, so I'm pretty happy to attack with everything. I don't want to get blown out necessarily by Swords, Plowshares, or Solitude, so I, at this point in the game, don't want to play out the second Death Shadow most likely. Because if they Swords one Shadow, I just lose the other one. Skyclave's pretty good here. Okay. Endurance. Okay. There's no big downside of attacking here, so I actually am going to attack first with Death Shadow and see what they do. Okay. Okay. So right now what I'm trying to do is move towards Plague Engineer, of course. So there's a few things I want to do. I want to get to 3 mana, and then I want to find either Plague Engineer or the 3 other copies of Fiend Artisan, which doesn't really want to make me use my mana through Elvish Reclaim, because I actually want to draw land, so the more in the deck the better. But I think I'm actually in a situation where I might have to go wide as well, so Shadow here might just be the play. It does suck if they have swords, but there's not too much I can do about that. And to be fair, if the Death Shadow is just in my hand, rotting away, I don't mind it at least being on the field and applying some amount of pressure. Lion Sash, okay. Solitude. There they go. That's not too bad. The issue is that if I play Liberator and they have land into Jide, they can just attack pretty favorably into the Liberator and then kill it, which is my only out to the Jide currently. So I think here it's probably game over just with the amount of lands that we've missed and not getting like 3-drops down. But we'll continue to just get a bit more out of this deck and see what they're playing. Because when it comes to sort of one-ofs in the deck that we have, there isn't anything like a Blast Zone or even a Sajiri Step, so not too much to do there. Oh, but they don't attack. That's very interesting. They hold up 2 mana. They're probably wanting to put in Lion Sash. That's quite nice. I think here I'm not going to be on the Death Shadow plan, so I am just going to go for basics here. And because Windswept Heath can't get the Swamp, we'll get the Forest with this one. And then I will respond here with Windswept as well. Oh my gosh, no, I meant to do it the other way around. We can't get the Plains anyway, that's all good. And I want to fetch there because if I play the Liberator and then fetch to find the mana to actually activate it, if they Swords in response and I don't have the mana for Liberator to deal with the Jide, that's a pretty big feel bad, so. It's not great use of my mana. I could also play Ranger of Eos and go towards like Sylvan's Safekeeper, but I think here the best bet is just to play Liberator and hope that they use mana to equip at least. What do they exile to the Solitude? Oh, was it the Lion Sash? 1 second. They did. The 2 cards left are unknown. So maybe this is Batterskull? Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why they didn't attack with it last turn. Double Mum and Kulge is going to be very hard to beat now. We also actually don't have black mana for like Plague Engineer off the top, so... And looking at the board, for a go-wide deck like this, we don't have too much. We have the trophies, which just hit a lot of things. The Agent seems fine. Maybe the Reanimates and the Griefs, but I'm not too sure on that. Okay, at least they don't have a land to equip. There is a small question here of, do I want to use the mana for Outland Liberator on the Jide and then untap with 3 mana up, but there's not too much I can do here because this doesn't die to Snuff Out. The Endurance doesn't do a whole lot. The Captain doesn't actually do anything either because they can give pro green and pro white anyway to get through with everything. So I believe here we are just dead, but might get another little hate bear out of my opponent to see what they're maybe playing around with. Seen a few different lists of D&T, things like Ephemerate, some playing Seasons Engineer. This looks more traditional. I don't mind Reanimate, like, a lot of my removal is quite good. Nothing I can do to that. I could, like, snuff at it, but then I just died to the damage here anyway. Is this clock going? No. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a second. Alright, let's talk about the sideboard. So trophies seem great. The opposition agent seems great. The reanimates and the griefs are very interesting. Grief quite good at stealing things like equipment and recruiter targets. Because of the Solitudes and Swords of Plowshares, I could see Death Shadow coming out. I'm not a big fan of the voices in this matchup either, with so much exile effects, including Skyclave Apparition. Plague's obviously fantastic. Ramanap is neither here nor there. I don't mind it as just ways to continue growing my mana base if needed. But being a 1-of in this deck, there's probably not many situations where I actually want to go for it. Bog I can also see coming out. The Endurance is I don't mind 1 Endurance to make sure we can block a flyer. The Oof and the Liberator are obviously great. I don't mind the Safekeeper. Safekeeper with Ramanap is quite nice, but by itself is... yeah. Interesting. And yes, I do say interesting a lot. Ranges are nice, but again, maybe it's just the ranges. There's nothing really great for them to grab anyway, so I don't mind something like this. Obviously a lot more heavier on the black here. I wouldn't want to grief with this hand, because we don't have a great way to actually get it back as soon as possible. But I don't mind it. The tough part is that I really want to have an answer for Mum and Stoneforge, so 2 pieces of like removal. But this deck just isn't built in that way currently, that I don't think I can mulligan to 6 and realistically find a hand with that. So I think because this has spells and land and pieces of interaction here and there, pretty happy to keep it. Also happy to lead on the Windswept Heath, which plays around Wasteland, of course. Keeps my options open a little bit. Probably just going to go Godless Shrine. And obviously don't need to pay for the... Wow, no, turn 1 play is really good. So I am just going to get Godless Shrine here. I don't want to play out the Liberator either, unless I probably have a target. So I'm happy to go just Fiend next turn. And then we have a nice curve, actually, of... hopefully Liberator next turn, potentially Assassin's Trophy if we really need to. But one card that I've actually thought about between this league is... Ooh, that's quite nice. Is that worth... I think that's worth just playing right now. Sylvan Library. Sylvan Library seems like a great card in this deck. It's not on the reserve list. You can obviously pay life with it, which is great with Death Shadow. And also to stop some of the draws we've had where it's just lands and mana, which does happen in these decks. I can't blame anyone but myself. But I do think that Sylvan Library would be a great fit in this deck. It's also just one more way to make sure you can actually cast the Death Shadows in play. Skyclave is going to be fine. Oh, Grist. I think at this stage I'm happy just to grief my opponent. I'm also going to... I should have griefed actually main phase 1 to see their hand, because if they have a bunch of humans, I don't really want to attack with the Plague Engineer here. I will attack. I think because we have the Grist and the Assassin's Trophy, I'm pretty happy. Them holding it makes me think they have something like a Flicker Wisp. So let's see what they have. Skyclave, Solitude, Stoneforge, Batterskull. Okay. So the Batterskull we can beat with Liberator. The Solitude isn't currently there. They do need 2 more mana for it before they have to 2-for-1 themselves. The Skyclave does deal with Grist and also Grief to some extent. I could see the Stoneforge here. It is the one card that allows them just to get access to Kaldra. But if they want to spend their turn on Stoneforge, we do have Grist for it. So there's definitely like little things here. I think for me it's the Stoneforge. It's the most like proactive play for them, whereas these two are a little bit more reactive. Skyclave. A Mana Dork wouldn't be bad here either. It lets us attack with Exalted and then trade away the Mana Dork with Grist for a 4/4. Definitely going to attack with the Plague Engineer here. And then probably just tick up with Grist and also have the trophy open. I think that's a pretty good play. It's a little bit tough that they miss land drops, but the trophy does give them one. But that should be fine. They drew Flick Wisp per turn, then having the trophy in response to the Flicker target's also pretty great. Jit's fine. They have one unknown. Oh, they're going to Solitude, pitching Thalia. Oh, no. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, no. Now, this is one to save, sure. So now they obviously attack both at Grist. Before blocks, we get to trophy this one, which is a 4/4. Yeah, like that's just a great position for us. Do we want to change anything here? I don't think so. I think Ramanav's probably the card that I think about the most, and also Pajuka Bog just as a black source and going up to 21 lands. But at the same time, if we're playing Reanimates and we're snuff outing their creatures and they're doing things like evoking Solitudes, I really want to make sure Reanimate's online as soon as possible. So I think I'm happy just keeping the Bog out, even though it is a land drop. And Ramanap, I think it's just too hard to tell at this stage, but that was really strong. Alright, so we have a 2-lander, both planes, 2 mana dorks. So like a fetch land off the top would make this hand pretty nice. But I think I'm happy to mulligan this because D&T is definitely going to be a deck that makes it very hard to come back from mana issues, especially from turn 1. This is much better. Pretty happy to keep this and probably bottom the planes. The fetches are quite nice alongside Reclaimer. My opponent also went to 6. File. Okay. Grist is a pretty fantastic draw. Let's go for fetch into... Could go for forest here. I assume my opponent might be on Path to Exile or Field of Ruin, which could be a consideration for keeping some of the basics in the deck. They didn't start on a Mum into Stoneforge either, so I actually don't mind just going for Temple here. Paying the 2. And getting Reclaimer online. Port here is really strong. This makes me want to attack with the Reclaimer. Oh, one kind of cool thing as well is with Grist and Reanimate, you also get another bit of interaction, which is pretty sweet. Let's go with Godless Shrine here. And pass. I think for a match like this, I wouldn't mind another Plague Engineer or some sort of sweeper effect like Toxic Deluge. But the Port Vial start here is just really, really strong. I think we just let this happen. Trophy is actually a pretty fantastic draw. That probably makes me just want to hold up the Verdant here. No great attacks. In response to this Vial, I will just fetch for the basic forest as well. Spirit's not too bad. The question here is do I want to get rid of the Vial and maybe take them off like the Power of Port? I don't mind that. That also gives me the potential for getting opposition agent in next turn in upkeep. I'm also more happy to do this because we have the Grist as a way to deal with creatures. Obviously, opposition agent with trophy as well has some synergy. All right. They did tap their planes here. Snuff Out would be a fantastic draw here. Marin's interesting. Doesn't do a whole lot right now. I think at this stage, I just want to play the opposition agent. The Grist by itself, or at least just with a 1/1, doesn't seem as safe as just playing the opposition agent here in end step. Maybe even taking out the Skyclave, potentially. They also tap the port there, which makes me think they have something with this mana. I'm gonna leave this be. I'm gonna take this 2 and not get the 1/1, just in case they have like a turn, like a second main phase recruiter. No. Ooh, what if we tick up a creature here and get to reanimate it? That would be sweet. We don't. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Reanimate here not looking great, I will say. Okay. I do want them to use their mana here, so we will put this in front of the Spirit. Could have done that afterlocks, but all good. Okay. Tick up. Fiend Artisan and Grist? Wow. Oh, we actually get 2 tokens because we hit a Grist? Hell yes! That is very cool. I've never actually seen that before. Okay, so we have a few things we can do here. I do like that Marin gets something back. We have 5 mana to work with. So we can play Marin, which does get hit by the Caracas, but we get back something, which is pretty sweet. I think it's going to be the Grist. I think we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Play Marin. Reanimate Fiend. And then we get back the Grist because it's a creature. Yeah. Okay. Again, also another matchup where Turak would be very good. Does get hit by Caracas, but that's about it. I think in this spot I'm happy to lose this crest. I could also put 1 and 1. I don't want to lose the Fiend. I think for now I'm happy just doing this. Okay. Sure. They are on 0 cards, which is nice. Okay. Let's go Noble. Ignobled. And then, tough one. I think I do just want to go wide here. Also have to watch time as well. Okay, just another land for them. They actually played it as well, which is interesting. I guess if they draw Kaldra, they want to have all the lands in play that they have. Alright. I don't mind this, because then I can hopefully get Plague Engineer in play next turn. I think Plague is what I want to get. Let's have a quick look. Brutal Cathar is kind of cool. Yeah, I think Plague, just dealing with that is quite nice. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, sorry. I guess it would have sucked there if I didn't get rid of... got rid of Plague Engineer into the bin. Okay, so they lose the Thalia, which is really nice. Then we have a great blocker here. They're also not on the Yorion version, so I don't have to worry about that. Just another basic, that's great for us. Wow, okay. Opponent just gives up. We'll take that. We will take that. Interesting. So what did we take from that? I think we have a weak point of some sort of value sweeper. D&T as well is a deck that just gets a lot of 2-for-1s, whether that's actually finding cards through Stoneforge Mystic or Recruiter of the Guard or Flickwisp shenanigans, and also through cards like Mother of Runes, that it can be hard for us to be able to compete on the same sort of value level. So I think maybe finding some world where we can get value is interesting. Something like Ongoing, like obviously Plague Engineer is fantastic, but I think in that sort of matchup I would love to have even a Dread of Night. Wouldn't be that bad. We don't have any white creatures that die from it, which is nice. I guess like maybe the voice token if it's by itself. Maybe Dread of Night's just a little bit too far gone. But yeah, an interesting match for sure. That does put us to 2-1, which is always nice. All right, we'll see you in the next league. And hey, if you like this content, definitely comment below. See what you think of the deck. Maybe some cards that you think about that could be in the deck that could make it a little bit better. Or just, you know, subscribe to the channel because you love this content. All right, we'll see you for round 4. Hey team, welcome back to round 4. We have what I would call an unplayable hand. So we're going to mulligan this. The mana just isn't there. This is better. Probably happy here to drop the Death Shadow, but the Swamp is actually pretty interesting. So I'm actually going to keep a bottom the Swamp. Going to go for Godless Shrine first, and then probably just Temple Garden off the Windswept Heath. Chrome Mox. Okay, Chrome Mox is always shenanigans, so this could be anything. Most likely a mono red deck? Nope, it's going to be Anointed Peacekeeper. I will just fetch and response. Go and get that Godless Shrine. I will pay. This is a tough one. At least Snuff Out is pretty nice here. That's just a clean answer. I assume they named Grist. But you never know. Oh, maybe I should have actually fetched up a green source with this so that they couldn't get me with the Windswept Heath. Yeah, I didn't actually think of that. Definitely a little thing to think of. Tight, tight. Let's hope they just go for Grist. Okay, that's fair. Of course. 2 more. I think I still fetch Shock here and play the Death Shadow. Oof. Okay. It does turn off the Chrome Mox. But they still have 4 cards. Yikes. just don't feel like we have a chance against mono white. It's just that good. Okay, so we see if we can double block. Ooh, but they did it in a way that the Death Shadow actually survives because damage happens at the same time and it's really weird. But here we are. It's pretty good. All right. I think we just have to maybe pivot towards a version with Reanimate and Grief and see if we can get there that way. Trophies are obviously great. Okay, let's have a good think. The Endurances can come out. I think in this matchup I can move away from the Death Shadows as well. Just again, being a Sword Splash as Solitude deck is just too hard. Without things like Mother of Runes, at least in this deck, it's very hard to keep up with. The Collector Oof can come out. The Bajuka Bulb can come out. The Voices are fine. The Plague Engineers don't do a whole lot except for things like Elite Spellbinder if they're playing them. It is a Death Touch creature, but I don't think that's good enough. And I think because we dropped out on a few things, the ranges aren't that great. Claim is still fine. Obviously, the mana acceleration's great. Liberator's still okay, but to be fair, going after their mana in that way again, it just isn't great. So let's take that out. It's not really an artifact or enchantment that I really want to go after. Slow. It's tough because I really want to have turn 1 Exalted Creature, turn 2 removal attack, but we only really have Snuff Out and potentially Assassin's Trophy that I think we just have to try to go with this and see how it goes. Turn 1 Ignoble Hierarch, turn 2 we get to double drop and then maybe get towards Brutal Cathar, but yeah, tough. Opponent keeps 7. Okay. Not too unhappy about that. Ramanap also quite nice here. Allows us to get that land back if we want. Ooh. I think getting the land back is probably best. I could also Artisan attack. I think developing my mana is probably where I want to be. This is actually a spot where Dried Arbor would be really nice with these Fiend Artisans. As just a creature we can sack each turn and get back. Would love to see a Solitude at some point as well, seeing that we have this Reanimate. Path. Okay. What's... Guess I don't mind us getting Swamp. Don't think there's really a need to get anything. Oh my gosh, they missed a land drop? What is this hand? I guess we get to find out. Oh my gosh. That doesn't really make sense to me. Yeah, I probably would just probably want to keep the 2 basics in hand. In the deck, sorry. I think here we actually take the Anointed Peacekeeper. Oh, is it discard? Oh, we get to get White Plume and then reanimate it? We could also get Seasoned Dungeoneer and reanimate it? Probably Seasoned, right? Yeah. Okay. Wow. Nice. All right. I guess that's one way to steal it. And it's really nice to say, you know what? We don't have that much of a great matchup here. Let's try out something new. And in that specific case, it worked. Not necessarily the best thing to do, but hey, that's pretty cool. We also did see Elite Spellbinder, so I am going to bring back the Plague Engineer. And it might just be a reanimate. That's a tough... I think it is just a reanimate. It can just be a little bit dead. This is match 4. Pretty great hand. Slow, but it does have Snuff Out and Brutal Cathar. Opponent's gone to 5 cards, which isn't bad. I've gone to many 5s on mono white where it's like Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, White Plume, and you're back in the game. The deck has a lot of powerful 5 card hands, so it's gonna be tough. And this is probably just going to be it. No. Okay. Interesting. All right. Let's go for Godless Shrine here. No one pay. I guess I don't need to snuff out right now. I can snuff out on my turn. Might as well see what we draw. Another Grief. Just going to snuff it out right now. And then do I want a Grief here? That's the big question. Probably not. Like, let's have a quick think. We have 90 minutes, so if we play a land and pass, they have 4 cards, maybe a land. They didn't have a land. If say they go land spell, that's down just 2 cards. Then play a land, play Brutal Cathar, hopefully take out a creature. They untap, they draw a card, they have 2 cards again. And then we might be able to Grief one of them away. I think just with our mana as well, I'd rather just have the Griefs. Tough though. Maybe like skimping on the reanimate just isn't great because it just wins games. It's definitely a consideration. Especially like 1 mana gain the initiative. It's pretty powerful. It's just tough to kind of like line it up because a lot of the effects from their side is exile, so it doesn't always, yeah, work in that sort of favor. Okay. 2, 3, 4. The slow start definitely didn't help against the mulligan. Just gives them time to kind of get back from it, especially with Undercity. But this could potentially steal the initiative. Oof, okay. Let's start with attacking. Nice. Get that forest. Sorry, get that plains. I'm not going to play out the brutal either. Two, 4, 5, 6, 7. I wonder if this is going to be... No. Sure. Now they have one card left. Thankfully, because of Forge, another Ajano won't kill the Seasoned Dungeoneer if I attack with it. I wonder what they go for here. 2, 3, 4, 5. So they could still have Solitude. I think Solitude would be the best card they could have. Probably having a big think. So if they name a Grief, I believe I can't cast Grief next turn. Because we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. We can Brutal Cathar, however. I can also Brutal Cathar without Shocking, which is pretty nice. Wow, it is Solitude. That's a tough one. I'm not sure if it's worth giving it away that you do have Solitude, but I guess it makes sense. Okay. I named Grief. I think we take out the Peacekeeper, play the Noble Hierarch. Which also means we get to block potentially. Either way. So definitely looking to just kill this. They get back the Anointed Peacekeeper. which is fine. Then in Grief, we have the mana to cast it anyway. I think we just trap them. One, two, three. Sorry, 2, 3, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, which just isn't enough. But we do get to see with Grief what they have. Okay. So we know they have City of Traders. They attack. Still pretty happy to block here. Just get rid of the Anointed Peacekeeper. Interesting. We get to draw a card. Another Grief. Alright, let's start off with Voice. And now let's go with Grief. Take it. Then play Safekeeper. Alright. Alright, that's pretty nice. Reanimate was kind of the real deal there, so really nice to get that one. Again, let's just think about the game. Obviously, mono white is pretty hard to keep up with in terms of value, but being able to borrow some of the value is a pretty nice strat. So obviously we did that through Reanimate. And Grief does help with that as well, especially if you Grief your opponent and then reanimate like a Seasoned Dungeoneer on turn 1. That's pretty huge. And maybe that's just the sort of strategy you need to take in this matchup if you are going to play a deck like this. So that's pretty cool. All right, we'll see you in the last round for hopefully a 4-1 finish. Cheers. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. And hey, thank you for watching. I appreciate you all the way through to round 5. Thank you very much. This hand is a little bit slow. 4 lands, 2 3-drops, and a Snuff Out. Ranger can find Death Shadow, which we do currently have Shocks for, and the Snuff Out, but I think we can find a better 6, especially with Mana Acceleration. Not there, but at the same time, I think I'm happy to keep this. Seeing we have 2 white sources, I'm happy to drop the Temple Garden here, play the Verdant, and pass. But hey, really nice to be 3-1 so far with this deck. Especially for like the starter. The starter 75. Really nice to see that there is something there, obviously. Oh, is this going to be the end boss that is Blue-Red Delver? They chose to shuffle with their library. I think I'm okay playing the Fiend Artisan into a Bolt. So let's go for Godless Shrine here. Also not paying just because it's going to be a match where I organically lose a lot of life anyway. Okay. Let's pay 2. And see if Artisan gets there. Okay. Daze isn't too bad. That is 1 less days for Grist, which is quite nice. And the Fiend Artisan could have been dealt with things like Chain Lightning, Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat. It's pretty nice to see that. Alright, do they have another Daze? That's a big question. Plague's pretty nice as well. So they currently have instant sorcery. I don't mind just trying to run out the Plague Engineer here, because the Brutal obviously has a lot more targets as well. It could hit something like, wow, we're going to name Human for sure. It could name something like a Murktide. Obviously having this in play as well for Grist means that we don't actually give the creature back if we sacrifice Brutal Cathar, so that's quite nice. I feel like my opponent is obviously looking for lands. It's their turn 3 and they missed a land drop last turn. No, they didn't because they dazed. They chose not to shuffle though. Wasteland. Okay. That makes me think they found a daze. It's like a 1 or 2 drop here would be fantastic. That is a 1 or 2 drop, but a little bit far off from being able to get cast. Oh wow, that stuck? Didn't see that happening. That's for sure. I wonder what they were really thinking about with the green mana that made them Wasteland there. Unless they had some nice spells on top with the Wasteland as the only land. I could see that. Okay. Still no threats from them is really nice. And we also have ways on the board to deal with Murktide, so this, like a land here would be really nice, but it doesn't need to be a land. Okay, there we go. Let's start with attacking. And I'm not in a rush here either to get this Death Shadow online. So I'm actually happy just to not pay. I probably don't want to cycle the Canopy this turn because I want to play this Brutal Cathar around days. I'd much rather play the Brutal Cathar to take out a Murktide than use the Grist. But all these Ponders and Expressive Iterations are obviously not doing a whole lot. It's not adding to the board, which is what they currently need to try to get a hand of. Oof, that's actually a huge draw. And we're just going to be casting that at instant speed in their draw phase. They haven't had a force yet, so surely. This is huge as well, because it means that they can't play DRCs as 2/2s. That'll obviously survive the Plague Engineers. So I think this is like if you have a force, you have to force this. I don't think... If you're not forcing this, what are you forcing? That's the question. Okay, there we go. Really nice get game 1. But this part's going to be tough. Okay, let's quickly look at some of the cards we can easily cut out. The Collector Oof, just not for this matchup. The Outland Liberator, just not for this matchup. Sylvan Safekeeper, there's nothing that we really care about in that way, especially against a deck like Delver that's going to be really going after our resources, that I'm happy to cut that as well. The 3 trophies seem fantastic. I obviously want to make room for the endurances as well. The voices are great. Renegade Ralia, Endurance. Plague Engineer is fine. I could see the captains coming out, or even shaving on Death Shadows. I don't mind shaving on Death Shadows here. That's an interesting one, because once it's a 4/4, it's quite hard to get rid of. The ranges aren't bad either, as they do stop Like, they can stop my opponent from doing some things in their turn, but probably not really the part of the text that we're worried about. I might actually just cut the ranges. Keep the shadows in, keep the deck a little bit low on curve, and see how this plays out. But something like 3 lands, I think 3 lands Noble Voice Snuff Out would be insane. That leaves one more card as well. This is pretty close to it. The awkward thing about this hand is that we don't have a non-wastable land to lead on to play a turn 2 voice. But I think it's pretty close, especially with the Ramanap as well, that I'm happy to keep this on the draw. I could see, however, going to 6 and finding a hand that actually has removal in it. A fetch land here would be quite nice. Death Shadow. It's actually a little bit risky as well, because if we don't draw a land next turn that produces either green or white, we do just lose the ability to play these voices. Yeah. And I think I should have thought about that a little bit more with this hand. Because I think in this matchup, you're going to lose matches where they go after your mana, and this was a hand where it was very easy to go after my mana. Like, to be fair, one Wasteland just kills it. So, that's a really tough spot. Also, if I draw like a mana dork here, I obviously can't cast that. Okay. If we find a land off the top that allows us to play voice, we're back in this. We're back in this. Oh, black. Okay, they're playing Snuff Out. Here we go. This is it. This is the draw step. No, but it is a creature. I think in response to their next spell, I'm going to Endurance, pitching 1 voice. Definitely that. Because I can't really beat a Murktide here, and I just have to keep them off as many threats as possible. Do they have the Bolt? Okay, I can't make the Fiend big here. But again, it's turn 4 and we're just at 17. So again, like a land here. Huge. I don't mind it though. I don't mind Reclaimer. And then I think right now I'm happy to Endurance pitching a voice. We can play around days, which is nice. And it means they can't, like, you know, upkeep Brainstorm into something to pitch to a force. I felt okay. True name? Okay, that's interesting. They saw the Plague Engineer, so... Didn't really expect that. Yeah, I think it really comes back to the hand, and the hand just wasn't good enough. And I should have seen that. I should have taken a bit more time to understand that, hey, we're up against a deck that plays Wasteland. Does this like hand survive one turn? No. Okay. Probably a bad idea to keep it. Tough. I think I just want to fetch right now. And make this a 4/4. But then even if they have Bolt and this flips, we're just dead anyway, so... Tough spot for sure. And they have a Force. I don't see us getting out of this, unfortunately. I don't think I want to sideboard. I don't think this is a world where we want to play like Reanimates and Griefs. I think what we have is pretty strong. It's really just a case of... Maybe even like Reanimate over Death Shadow is kind of cool. Getting back an Endurance that we just pitched is pretty sweet. If they try to like, obviously, like Daze or something on a Voice or Fiend Artisan, I don't mind it. A little bit risky, but hey, we're testing this out. We're seeing what cards do and how they fare in different matchups. So come fight me. Don't do it. I'll concede. Death Shadow is just interesting because if I get to a low life total, then Flyers and Bolts can just kill me, and that's where I feel a little bit uneasy about going for the Death Shadow route. Especially now seeing True Name as well. But yeah, I'm really angry at myself for keeping that hand. Because the Swamp in this deck does make some issues happen, especially with the Voice on turn 2, but we live. Again, just a bunch of 3-drops and the trophy. I'm going to mulligan this. Ugh. No. Alright, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to bottom the Wasteland and the Reanimate, I think. Let's make sure we can try to get mana on point. I don't want to fetch and expose anything yet. Okay. The flip is huge here. It does flip. Another spot where it could be worth... I'm not a big fan against Delver of going for like end step Dried Arbor to untap and try to Grist because of Bolt on Dried Arbor is just so huge, but hey. maybe here we can do some things. Let's go for Overgrown Tomb. That gives us a green source in play. But really tough spot, because like even just a daze here is so good. Force. Tough. Would have been, yeah. I definitely can't ponder on that game 2 keep for too long, but would have been nice to see how this deck fared with a correct hand, I will say. I can't even realistically snuff out here. Because I can't beat Bolt anyway, so... Tough. Tough. I feel like we had a little bit more game there, but just didn't really get there. Chest is... meh. Alright. Thoughts on the deck. Let's create another version. Alright, number 2. I think it's really interesting to go within the Death Shadow route, and although I won't agree with anyone that it would be the most competitive version of either a Death Shadow deck or a Maverick deck, I think there's a lot to it in seeing how it can be adapted for the metagame right now. There's some cards that I really want to look at, and those are Sylvan Library. Let's say 2 Sylvans. Put these over here. I think it's just correct to also play swords. I know that Joe was really looking to find a build that just had a heavy reliance on creatures and just seeing how you could go in a deck without things like Swords to Plowshares or Green Sun Zenith, which is great. I think it's awesome to just keep innovating and seeing how things work. But I think in 2023, if you're playing white, it's just really hard not to play Swords to Plowshares. It's just really hard not to. And I think alongside Snuff Out would do wonders for this deck, especially in today's league where we played against mono white, Death and Taxes, Death Shadow, and Blue-Red Delver. 5 creature decks. So the swords would have been really fantastic. And I think the swords takes a spot of some of the creatures in here. Like, it's quite nice to have removal in Fiend Artisan in like Brutal Cathar, but we also have Grist for that. So I could see like Brutal Cathar getting taken out. Obviously the Snuff Outs work really well with the Death Shadows, so I don't want to tamper with that too much. The Safekeeper is nice because it is protection when we need it, and we can find it off Artisan. But it's hard to kind of think of spots where I really wanted the Safekeeper. Obviously against Swords to Plowshares decks, it's quite nice to keep Death Shadow alive. That's kind of one of the only thoughts there. I think the other card that I'd like to see is Dryad Arbor. even though we don't have Green Suns, I think Dried Arbor in the mix somewhere would be nice. The captains are cool, but yeah, like captains do find Death Shadow, so does Fiend Artisan. The opponents can't cast on creature spells this turn is kind of cool, but I could see those also coming over here. I feel like Merrin and Renegade Rallier could be fighting for similar slots where they're both going after the graveyard in a way to get things back. And Rallier obviously just being a little bit more mana efficient is nice. And not being legendary is actually something that came up today. Obviously it's not great for them because typically you can get the value out of it, but if you play Merrin and your opponent Karakas it back to your hand before end step, it doesn't really do anything, unfortunately. So I could see like Merrin coming out, Brutal Cathar, Ranger. Going up to 23 lands I think is fine. It's probably nice to have a dual land in here, but for the considerations of the deck list and Joe, I think it would be very cool to see how this deck could go as a non-reserve list deck. The Collector Oof is nice as it's kind of like a I win with Fiend Artisan against a few decks. The Safekeeper, I think I'm happy going down on. The Voices are tough on mana with that Swamp and the Bajuka Bog, but I don't mind some number. Like maybe we could move down to 2. I wouldn't mind that. And then like look at us, we're getting pretty close to what we kind of want to achieve. Dryad's tough though because it's obviously really nice. It has some engines, so it has Ramming Up obviously gives you a blocker every turn. With Fiend Artisan, you get a creature back every turn to sack. So there's some little sort of, I guess I would call them niche interactions there. 22 lands also isn't much, but at the same time, I think we didn't have too many mana issues this league. And in the past, I haven't had 2 mana either. You could come back to that Swamp Temple Garden hand, but at the same time, I should have mulliganed that. I should have really thought about that and mulliganed that hand. So I think maybe Dryad can cut, and this is actually just the 22 that we might go with for the next round, which is still really cool. You still have your outs to certain things, but having those swords for opposing creatures and having the Sylvan Libraries as ways just to either turn on the Death Shadows straight away, or like throughout the league I talked about getting value and keeping up with value of decks like Death and Taxes or Mono White. Sylvan Library is a great way to do that, especially if it can survive a turn. And if not, hey, that's one less Prismatic Ending going at a creature you own. Yeah. I guess Reclaimer is the other card that we do have some cards to get, or good targets like Bajuka Bog or Karakas. And they are like 1 mana creatures as well, which is nice. But yeah, my only other thought was Mother of Runes as a way to protect Death Shadow. And you could have it as say a 3 or 4 of, but I don't think we're there just yet. But I do like the 60. And then I think looking at the board, I didn't mind this sort of strategy, the Reanimates and the Griefs, but 8 slots is a huge part of the sideboard. And it's really tough because if you want to play this, I would probably play the same. I would play the full 8 Grief and the full 8 Reanimate. Teeg is an interesting one as well because there's not many strategies that can't beat Teeg. And a lot of the Storm decks going for Teeg, I'd rather just go for Collector Oof. You could say Elves potentially, but there's just not many decks around that Teeg actually does a whole lot with. And you're going to have to go 1 mana creature, 2 mana Fiend Artisan, 3 mana Teeg, or 3rd turn Teeg for it to be relevant. And those don't always pan out the way that they have to, frankly. So I could see like Teeg coming out. I also don't mind against combo decks right now, especially Reanimator, going with Leyline of the Void in the board. So if we go down to like 3 Leylines, say if we did part with the Reanimate Grief plan, that would be 3 ley lines. Turak would be very cool to see. I don't believe I have any on my account, but I would probably add in, say, 2 Turaks. One other card that's pretty interesting for this sort of build could be Witherbloom Command, which I believe allows you to get back a Death Shadow or deal -3, -1 to a creature. Let's have a quick look. Witherbloom Command. 2 mana sorcery. Target player mills 3 cards. Then you return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. Destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Target creature gains -3, -1 until end of turn. And target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. The last one not really relevant, but the other ones are. It's kind of like a small Abrupt Decay, a better Disfigure in some ways. And the mill isn't too bad, but it's tough. I think in the board, I don't mind some number of Reanimates, but I'm not too sure where we'll go with the sideboard for now. I think I like the main deck for where it is, at least for one more league to see how it fares. But I think in the board I want to have additional removal in the trophies for things like Delver and Mono White. Hitting 4 CMC threats or Murktide is very relevant. And then, yeah, have a good think about other cards. Like, I know some players have been playing Bitter Blossom in Modern again to face Blue-Red Murktide, which is pretty interesting. And obviously the life loss does add up with Death Shadow. And getting a token every turn is pretty sweet, and that could be something to look into. But again, I think it's just maybe even sleeping on this, having a good think, seeing how it goes, and pick up from there. But a huge thank you to you guys for coming and watching. Let me know in the comments if there's a card that you can think of that you'd like to switch up. I'd love to hear it. But until then, a huge thank you to Thraben and Maverick Joe for the list, and just to test out this sort of strategy and see how it goes. If you'd like to get a donation deck list on the channel, you can find that on thegreensundina.com under the Support Us tab. But yeah, that's it. A huge thank you once again. Catch you next time.